الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله الأزكياء وأصحابه الأتقياء أما بعد. Last week we discussed the incident of the treaty that took place between the Muslims and the Mushrikeen al Makkah Mukarramah, the treaty which became famous by Sulh Hudaibiyah. And we discussed in great detail how the Sahaba, they had to place a boulder on their chest before accepting the terms, and how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam described the terms of the Sulh as fatah and a victory. And on the way back from Makkah Mukarramah, when they were returning without being granted the permission to perform the Umrah, and when they were returning back to Makkah, when they were returning back to Medina Munawwarah from Makkah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the entire surah of Surah Fatah, Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina, starting from the verse all the way till the end. The first verse, Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina, that indeed we have given you a clear victory. So the Sahaba always thought that how was this Fatah, how was this treaty a clear victory, when apparently all the terms of the treaty were against the Muslims. For example, the Muslims were not allowed to perform the Umrah that year. For example, the following year they could come, but they can only stay for 3 days. They're going to travel all the way for 1 month, and they can only stay for 3 days, and they have to go all the way back. And then when they arrive, once the treaty has been signed, any Muslim that comes from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwarah must be returned. So the terms of the treaty were such that it really bothered the Muslims. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He described the treaty as fatahna laka fatham mubina, that it is an open victory. Fatahna laka, it's an open victory. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He showed the Sahaba how this is open victory within the year that came. The next 2-3 years that came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He showed the Sahaba how this is open victory. Now how this was open victory, the Mufassirin, they explain this in various ways. Very many ways the Mufassirin, they mention how this was an open victory. What happened was that the Sahaba, now before what was happening is between Makkah Mukarramah and the people of Medina Munawwarah, there were continuous battles. The Battle of Badr took place, the Battle of Uhud took place, the Battle of Khandaq took place. There was always a tension. And more than the tension, neither side knew when the other party would come and attack them. So now at least for 10 years, they had signed a contract that no one will attack the other person, and there will be no fighting between the two. So it gave them a sense of peace, and it gave the Muslims a chance to lower their weapons and take a little rest now. Because they had fought for a long time. For example, when Khalid bin Walid, radiallahu ta'ala an, when he took his army and he fought, he conquered so many places during the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala an. He fought for so many years and he conquered so many countries. Finally Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu said to him, that out of your army of, if I'm correct, 12 or 13,000 people, he said, whoever wishes to go back home, grant them the chance to go back home now and rest a little. Give them the chance to go back home and rest a little. So Khalid bin Walid, radiallahu anhu, he told his army that whoever wants to go back, they can go back. And 9,000 of them came home. How many of them? 9. He was left with 3,000 now. And Khalid bin Walid, radiallahu anhu, was a person who didn't stop. He always wanted to fight. He was always ready to go to the next place. So this is during the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. So what happened was he told Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he wrote a letter to him, that send me some backup, I need some people to go fight. So Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu sent an entire army as a backup. When Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, when he saw the army, he was shocked. What kind of army is this? He's thinking, what kind of army is this right here that I'm looking at? And he's shocked when he's looking at the army, and it's the army that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu sent, and he has to adopt the army, he has to accept the army. And the reason why he was shocked is because Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, in replacement of 9,000 people, only sent one person. And Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu looked at this person and said, Chalo, aajo. And now he had 3,001 people, and he took these people, and that one person, it's not the time to mention it, but if we discuss the conquest of Persia and Rome, it shows how that one person came to save the life of Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu. What happened was that Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, there was this person, one of the, if I'm correct, the Roman kings, I'm saying this from the top of my head, but I remember reading this in history, that there was a Roman king, and he invited Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu for discussion. So Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu was going there, and this Roman king beforehand, he planted 10 to 11 people hidden in place there. There were 11 soldiers hiding there and no one knew of them. So now when Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu came to speak with this person, that person, he attacked Khalid bin Walid. And when he attacked Khalid, now those people are hiding, they're not attacking Khalid bin Walid. So Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anh, he was a Saifullah, he was a sword of Allah at the end of the day. You know, in history, there were only two people who never lost a battle. There were two generals in history that never lost a battle. Two generals in history that never lost a battle. Even the army of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, somewhat faced a defeat in the Battle of Uhud. But the only two generals in history that never lost a battle were Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anh, and the second was Genghis Khan. These were the only two generals in the world in history that never lost a battle. So Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anh, he wasn't here to lose. He was here to win. And now he has this person that's fighting a one-on-one. And now, you know, he was a person that would take on thousands himself. And here he's being told to fight one person. So he took this guy out and he gave him a good beating. And while he was beating, what happened is that person said to Khalid ibn Walid, the other king, he said that, you know, we're fighting with swords. Let's be men. Let's put our swords on and fight with our hands. So Khalid ibn Walid didn't realize that he had 11 people planted here. So Khalid ibn Walid, he threw a sword. Now he didn't have a weapon anymore. And that person threw his sword. Now they started fighting in a fist fight, and Khalid ibn Walid was giving that guy some good pounding in his face. So this guy, he got a hold of Khalid ibn Walid, and he called his men, come. So 11 men came, to fight against Khalid ibn Walid and to take him out. So Khalid ibn Walid, subhanAllah, the power he had was something different. He had very, very unique power. Allah granted this person was such power, it was beyond imagination. He took this person, he picked him up, and he was swinging this person around every time someone would swing a sword at him. And he used that person as a shield. He grabbed that person every time someone swung at him, he used that person as a shield, and that person was holding onto his back, and he kept swerving himself until that person got cut and he died. And then the person that came to save Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anh was the one person, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, sent on return of the 8,000 people, the 9,000 people. So that's another story altogether, another incident. We branched off from where I mentioned that how Rasulullah, how this was a fatah, that the Muslims got a chance to relax out and calm down a little. Because when the Muslims, if a soldier is overworked out, what's going to happen? He's going to get really tired. There's no doubt in it at all. Any Muslim that overworks himself out, he's going to get tired. Any person that's in the battle, and these people were always under the tension that someone can come and attack us. This is one of the reasons why the Mufassirin have mentioned that this was a fatah. This was an open victory. Another reason why the Mufassirin have mentioned that this was open victory was that in this very year, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after returning back to Medina Munawwara, he wrote letters to the kings of the world, inviting them towards Islam. So it was as if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fatah in Arabic means to open. So he was not opening the doors to the different kingdoms across the world. He wrote a letter to the Roman king, wrote a letter to the Persian king, he wrote a letter to the king of Habsha, Abyssinia, he wrote a letter to the king of Yemen, he wrote a letter to the governor and the king of Bahrain. So he wrote a letter to all these different kings, inviting them towards Islam, and he wrote over 8 to 9 letters, inviting people towards Islam, inviting all the rulers and kings of the world to Islam. So now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he wrote these letters, one of the first letters he wrote to the king of Rome, the Roman emperor, whose name was Herakl. And Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi, he relates this incident that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote the letter and he gave it to the hands of Dihya Kalbi. Dihya Kalbi radiallahu anhu is a very beautiful and handsome sahabi. And he was so handsome that when Jibreel alayhi salam used to come to Medina Munawwara, he used to actually take his form majority of the times. Majority of the time, when Jibreel alayhi salam used to come to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to take the form of Dihya Kalbi. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the letter to Dihya Kalbi. He said, go and deliver this to the Roman king. The Roman king, now the Romans, they followed which religion did they follow? Christianity. They were Christians, and Christians are somewhat closer to Muslims compared to, the fire worshippers or all the other people who worship all the different things out there. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had hope in this Christian king because their religion wasn't too far away. Very close. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does he say in the Quran? قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَىٰ كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. If you look at the two religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Islam, these 3-4 religions, the religions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed books to, and they had prophets, they're very close. Except for the few things here and there, they're very close. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He granted the Muslims permission to eat from the meat of the Ahl Kitab and to marry their women. Because the religion is very close. Amongst the ahkam are very close if the people are following their religion. So now Dihya Kalbi, he brought a letter to Herakl, and he put it in front of this Heraclius and the Herakl, the king. And the Herakl, when he read the letter more or less said that this letter is from Muhammad, the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Herakl, the king of Rome. Aslim taslim, if you accept Islam, you will be given peace in this world and in the hereafter. And if you accept Islam, your entire kingdom will accept Islam, and you will be forgiven in return. But if you don't accept Islam, then you have to answer to Allah on the day of judgment for your entire kingdom and your entire empire that didn't accept Islam. Herakl, he read the letter and he respected the letter so greatly. And he had some discussion with Abu Sufyan, who was there at the time. And after having the discussion, after reading the letter, he felt that Islam was the true religion. And his heart was open that this is the true religion. So what he did was that before he accepted Islam, he made a plan. What his plan was that he gathered all the people inside his palace. And he told his men, close the door. His men, they closed the door, all the padris and all the priests, they had gathered together around Hiraqal. And Hiraqal, he read the letter out to them, and he told them that I believe this message is the truth, because our books talk about this individual, that he's going to come the final and last messenger. And here's his letter, he is here now, we must accept his religion. So the people that were there, they got really upset. They got up and they started rushing out of the castle. What rubbish is this? What is he talking about? And they started rushing out of the castle. When they went to the door, they realized the doors were closed. Hiraqal, he called all the priests back. When they came back, they were brought in front of Hiraqal. And the Roman Emperor Hiraqal, he said to these people that I wasn't here to change your religion, I was just testing you. He was lying to the people. He said, I was just here to test you because he felt that if he carried on propagating Islam, these people would come and they'd jump against Hiraqal. And they'd wipe him out. What mission was it for them to wipe this person out? They'd come with their armies and come and take him out because he went against the religion. So Hiraqal, he then told Dihya Kalbi radiallahu anhu that I accept your religion. I know your religion is the truth. But the reason why I can't accept it openly, I know what you're saying is the truth, but I can't accept the religion because if I accept it, these people are going to kill me. And he was mahroom of Islam and Hidayah even after he recognized it. He was deprived of it because he was worried about his fame and his name. And this took him far from the akhirah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the letter, he warned him. What was the warning in the letter? Aslim taslim. That if you accept Islam, Allah will save you in the hereafter. But if you're not going to accept Islam and you're going to be worried over your pride and your name and your fame, then there's nothing for you in the hereafter. Then you're going to be tortured and punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the fire of hell forever and ever. So now, Hiraqal, he told the Sahabi, Dihya Kalbi, that before you return back, why don't you take this very same letter to one of my famous priests that I have, one of my very close priests, and he's a very learned individual. Take the letter to him. So the Sahabi, he takes a letter to the other person that Dihya Kalbi, to who Hiraqal told him to take it to. When he brought the letter in front of that person, he read the letter and he accepted Islam. He's like, I believe in this is the truth, and he was ready to accept, and he believed, when I say accepted Islam, he believed that this was the truth. He had no doubt in it at all that our books talk about it. This is the person, this description here, where he's come and everything, this is perfect, this is the person. So when he called out to his people about Islam, the people, they came and they beat him up so badly that Dihya Kalbi, he came back. And told Hiraqal what happened. Hiraqal said, see, this is why I didn't accept Islam, because I knew my people would do the same to me. And no matter how honorable and how great of a king I am, these people would kill me one day. So now Dihya Kalbi, he returned back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he informed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when I was leaving Hiraqal and I gave him the letter, Hiraqal, with tears in his eyes that he couldn't accept the truth after he was lying in his hand, he folded the letter up, he put it inside a golden case, and he put it safe away. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't give him bad dua. He said that this person, at least he recognized the truth. Inshallah, one day his people will be guided. And now what happened was that there was one person by the name of Abu Mansur. There was this, actually his name was Amir Saifuddin Mansuri, sorry. His name was Amir Saifuddin Mansuri. He was one of the governors for Shah Mansur. He was one of the kings of his time. Shah Mansur, he told the Saifuddin Mansuri that I have some message, I have some gifts. Why don't you go and take it to the king of Maghrib? So he brought the gifts to the king of Maghrib after he gave him the message that the Shah Mansur had sent him with, and he delivered the message to him. This king of Maghrib said to him that, before you go back, can you please deliver my message to this king of Faranj? There was another king, go and give it to him. So he agreed, he took the letter, and he took the message, and he reached the second king. After he conveyed the message to him, and he's ready to head back home now to his homeland, when he was leaving, the second king, he insisted that he stay. He goes, stay. This Saifuddin Mansuri said, no, I have to go back. So after being, pressured a lot, and a lot of it insisting from the king's side, he decided to stay. The king, he went inside, he brought this golden chest out. And when he opened the chest, he found that there was a letter inside there that had words that were going away. That were the effect of the ink was going away. So then he said that this was a letter that your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent to my great grandfathers, whose name was Hiraqal. And he passed this treasure box on through generation. And he told us that as long as you have this box with you, victory will never leave your hands. So he said, I keep this box with me, and anyone in the world can come and attack me, but as long as I have this with me, no one can ever be victorious over me. So this was the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The person who respected it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him chut and allowed the Heraclius to remain as the emperor, as long as it was written in his taqdeer. And then when time came, the Muslims came and they also conquered the Roman Empire. The second letter Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I'm not going to go through all 8 in this much detail, you don't have to worry. But just 2, 3 of them I just want to point out. The second letter Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wrote to, he wrote to the king of Persia. The Persians, what was their main religion at the time? They were Zoroastrians. They were fire worshippers. They used to worship fire. Parsis, yes. In Urdu we call them Parsis. In Arabic you call them the Majus. They were the fire worshippers, these people. Now because these people worship fire, they were more similar to the Mushrikeen. So the Mushrikeen and the Majus and the Nasara and the Faris actually had more inclination towards each other. The Mushrikeen of Makkah Mukarramah, they were inclined towards the Majus. And the Muslims, they were inclined towards the Romans. Because they were Ahl Kitab, both of them, and these two people were both worshipper of the Batil. They had no basis to what they were worshipping. So what happened was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he wrote a letter to the Persian Empire, the Persian Emperor, when he read the letter was brought by Abdullah bin Hudhafa radiallahu anh. And the Persian Emperor, when he read the letter, he got so upset. He said, who is this person that's writing this letter to me? He's inviting me to leave my religion and accept his religion. Who does this person think he is? So much kibr and so much pride, he was extremely upset. And he said, this person is telling me to believe in him when he is my slave. And he took the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he tore it into pieces and he threw it on the ground. Abdullah bin Hudhafa radiallahu anh, he came back, he informed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I delivered the letter. This person was really upset. He tore the letter and he threw it to the ground. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in return said that may Allah tear down his empire just as he tore my letter down. Now what happened was this king, the Persian emperor at the time, his name was Parvez. The Persian Empire at the time, his name was Parvez, the one who tore the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he informed one of his governors, his name was Badan. He said, or send 2 men to go and arrest this person who thinks he's so big that he's writing a letter to me. So 2 big, skinheads, big guys, bulky guys, they came to arrest Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They arrived in Medina Munawwara. When they arrived in the gathering of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned his face away from these 2 people. At the sight of these 2 people, as soon as they came in the gathering, these 2 big bulky guys, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he couldn't bear looking at their face and he turned away. Why did he turn away? What's the reason? One thing was mustache. Second thing was? No beard. They had no beard and they had very big mucha. Really big mustaches. Enough to clean their ears and tickle their ears with. Not that big. But they had really big mustaches. And no beards. This is why the muhaddithin, they say that it is feared that a person that comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment without a beard, the very same hashr will be done with that person just as Rasulullah did with the person who he saw in his life. The few people that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw in his life without a beard were these 2 people. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at the first sight, what did he do? The first sight, he turned his eyes away. I don't want to look at these 2 people. So the muhaddithin say that we fear that, the common saying that the person who does not have a beard, when he comes in front of Rasulullah on the day of judgment, Rasulullah will turn his face away. There's no explicit hadith for that, first thing. But the muhaddithin that say this, they base it on this incident here. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he saw these 2 Persians, what did he do? He turned his face right away, saying, no, get away, I don't want to see you. What are you? Who are you people? I don't want to see you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he disliked to look at these people. Now these 2 people, they said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we're here to arrest you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that before you arrest me, let me just tell you something. That your king, Parvez, has been murdered. They're like, what? That's the biggest news? That the Persian emperor, the one whose empire remained for 1200 years. He had such a big, his forefathers had been running the empire for 1200 years and they never heard of a murder. And here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling them that your king, your emperor, the grand king and the grand emperor of his time has just been killed. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that he wasn't just killed by a normal person, he was killed by his son, Shirwaya. He said his son killed him. So they said, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, why don't you go back to the person who sent you and tell him this news? And tell him that if what I said is true, he should consider accepting Islam. So now these two, the huge guys, Muslims, they came back to Badan. And they said to Badan that, Muhammad said this, that he said that, the king was killed. Now what actually happened was that the Roman king, when he destroyed the letter and tore apart the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua against that person. And it wasn't possible that the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not hit the target. So what happened was that his son was greedy for kingdom. Shirwaya, he was greedy for kingdom from a young age. So what he did was he decided to kill his father. So what he did was that when his father went inside the treasures, where he had a nice little room where he had all the treasures. When he went inside that room to just, walk through his treasures and view the treasures, the son came, and from outside he locked the door. And it was a vault now, and his father's locked inside the vault. Who's going to hear his scream? Who's going to hear his voice? The father died in there. Everyone's wondering, where did he go? Where did he go? And the last place they're going to check is in that vault. They had no idea at all. The next person in position now was the son. The son was made king. Now the father, when he was inside the vault, Parvez, he knew that this was a child of his son, and he knew that his son, he played him, and now he's dead, because he realized that his son always wanted to be the king, and he played him, he set him up. So now he's stuck in there, he's thinking, what do I do now? I'm waiting death, there's no way out of here. I have gold and silver around me, but unfortunately my wealth can't save me from the angel of death, and now I'm dead. So what he did was, he thought to himself that if my son did this to me, I should get revenge back on him too. So his son couldn't have children. His son couldn't have children. So what he did was that he took this poison that he had, a really strong poison, and he tore the label off. And he wrote another label on, he put another blank label on there, and he took a pen and he wrote on there, "Ad-dawa'u nafi'un lil-jima'." He took another label, blank label, and he put on the poison. It said, "Ad-dawa'u nafi'un lil-jima'." Medication which will help you in having intercourse. And he put it there. Now his son was impotent. Now after some weeks passes by, his father is dead now. He knows his father is dead. Now the father, he put that poison in a visible place, somewhere where that son will definitely see it. So now what happens is that the son comes inside after months. He doesn't dare to come inside before that because he feels people may doubt him. So after months, he's sure the body is decayed and probably gone. And he comes inside. He knows his father is definitely dead. There's no way he can be alive. When he comes inside one night, he sees his father's body. He wraps it up, gets rid of it. And then he sees this bottle there. Whoa, my father was hiding something in his treasure. I knew he was hiding something. I didn't know he was hiding stuff like this. This is exactly what I need. I need this medication to have children. So he got the bottle and gulped it down. And what happened to him was what was going to happen to him. He fell down dead. He died. The second king died. Now what happened was that, imagine this, that such a big empire, and they lost 2 kings in a short period of time. Now what's going to happen to that empire logically? It's going to become unstable. It's obvious that if they're going to lose their king twice in a row, 2 kings are both going to be killed. What's going to happen? The people are going to lose, their support in the country, and you can just imagine the whole infrastructure of the country is going to become unstable. So now what happens is that since he's dead, this Sharawiyah died, his sister became the queen of Persia. So Rasulullah ﷺ said that how is that country ever going to be successful who's ruled by a lady? Now they're ruled by a lady, watch the destruction come to them, and these people are all going to fall to our feet. So now what happened was the Badan, when the 2 Muslim guys came back to him, and they told him that we went to arrest Rasulullah ﷺ, this is what he said to us. Badan said, let's find out if this is true or not. And before he realized that the message spread it across the Persian Empire that the king Parvez had been killed, the first king. That was the time when he received back the message. So he accepted Islam with his entire community and sent a message to Rasulullah saying that we've all accepted Islam and we all testify, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. This is what happened to the second person. The third person that Rasulullah sent a letter to, his name was Najashi. And Najashi was the king of Habsha, Abyssinian. Okay? So when he received the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the letter to him was brought by Amr bin Umayyah radiyallahu anhu. When he received the letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after reading the letter and hearing the letter, he accepted Islam. And he was a Christian. He was a true Christian, a very soft-hearted individual. And he was always about the haqq and the truth. Before the Muslims, when they first migrated to Habsha, as I mentioned earlier on, before they migrated to Medina Munawwara, the first place the Muslims migrated to was Habsha, Abyssinia. And when they first arrived there, the people of Makkah came and complained. They said, we want to arrest these people and bring them back to Makkah. They're slaves that ran away from us. So the Sahaba, what did they say? They said that before we go, Najashi, just listen to our story. And Najashi was a person of haqq. He was a person of the truth. He loved listening to the truth. And when he heard the truth, he accepted it. There are certain people that when they hear the truth, they accept it. And then there are certain people that after they hear the truth, they don't want to accept it. There's certain people that they hear the truth and they accept it. And there's some people that after they hear the truth, they don't want to accept it. So Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, I remember one story that he was fighting when he was fighting against the Persians. There was one person, he came to fight against Khalid bin Walid, and he was considered as the strongest man in Persia. When he came in front of Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, he came out in front of the Muslims. He said, "Call Khalid bin Walid, I want to fight against him." So Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, he came to the front. And a very long, lengthy discussion they had. And this person says to Khalid bin Walid that, if I kill you, what's going to happen to your army? So first he said to Khalid bin Walid that, the Muslims are, when Khalid bin Walid came in front of him, they had a long discussion. And Khalid bin Walid said to him, that, why are you coming to fight me? So he said, I'm the strongest person in Persia, that's why I'm going to fight you. So Khalid bin Walid said that a complete man isn't a person that's only based on power, he's also based on intellect. So how smart are you? Tell me that first. So he said to Khalid bin Walid that I'm also very smart too. Not only am I powerful, I'm a strong person too. In today's world, you'll find many very, very strong people. There's some people whose entire life is based on bodybuilding. Huge people, very, very, very big. Eating 8 times a day, 10 times a day, 7 times a day, and it's working out and working out and working out. But inside the brain, very small aql. Didn't work on their muscle of the brain at all, if there's a muscle there. They didn't work on their brain at all. Nothing. No intellect at all, unfortunately. But the Sahaba were such, they were very intellectual individuals. And the Muslim warriors and the true men in history were those that were intellectual individuals. They weren't just powerful. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very powerful. The person came against him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he picked him up Rukana. He came against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never lost a fight in his life. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam picked him up in like a chapati, smacked him on the ground. He picked this guy up in like a roti to smack him on the ground. He came a second time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam picked him again and slammed him on the ground again. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't only a powerful and a strong person. He was also very intellectual. These two things, when they join together, this is what makes a man. So now the muhaddithin, they discuss. The muhaddithin are very unique individuals. Subhanallah, the muhaddithin and the fuqaha. Because they discuss everything. You can talk about a watch and they discuss that. You can talk about anything and they have made a discussion on it and they discuss the Islamic ruling on that. So the muhaddithin, they discuss, and the fuqaha, they discuss what is a man? What is a man? Tell me, what is a man? So they say that a complete man is the one who is complete in strength and intellect. Both. If you want to be half a man who only has strength or he only has intellect, and if he has neither, don't consider him a man altogether. If he doesn't have intellect, he doesn't have strength, then just put him inside some other category altogether. He doesn't meet the criteria of being a true man. So now these people were they were intellectual individuals. For example, Salahuddin Ayyubi, when he conquered Bayt al-Maqdis, his dream of his life, to conquer Bayt al-Maqdis, to conquer Palestine, to once again, free Palestine from the oppression that it was chained into. And finally, when he came to Palestine, when he came to Bayt al-Maqdis, and when he liberated Bayt al-Maqdis, he destroyed the army there. The Crusaders were destroyed. He invited them towards Islam. He said, accept Islam. These people said, we're not going to accept. Salahuddin Ayyubi then said, okay, then meet me in the battlefield. And when they fought against them the next day, the Muslims, they destroyed these people. They destroyed them in such a way that the Crusaders then, they went back, they retreated, and they secured themselves. And they captured the 5,000 Muslims that were living in Bayt al-Maqdis from before, the Muslims that were there, that were stuck in the oppression for how many years? For years and years. So they wrote a letter to Salahuddin Ayyubi saying that we're not going to give in. And if you guys attack us, we have terms, they said. They said, we're going to sign a treaty with you. So now imagine what's in Salahuddin Ayyubi's mind. You people, you killed so many Muslims. You did the greatest crimes in history. You took Bayt al-Maqdis away from our hands. And now you're saying you're going to come to a treaty? You threatened to kill me a million. They tried to poison Salahuddin Ayyubi so many times. They tried to kill Salahuddin Ayyubi so many times. And here they're saying to Salahuddin Ayyubi that let's strike a treaty together. After all the crimes they did and all the Muslims they killed and all the things they did, what are they saying now? That let's make a treaty. Salahuddin Ayyubi said, get out of here. I'm not making a treaty. I'm going to kill every single one of you. So they said to Salahuddin Ayyubi that if you dare kill us and if you don't accept the treaty, what are we going to do? We have 5,000 people here and every single one of them is going to be killed and we're going to destroy your masjid. Now if that was you or I or me and you or one of us, what would we say? We'd say, kill the 5,000. I'm going to kill every single one of you in return. Run as far as you want, do whatever you want to, but at the end I'm going to come and I'm going to swat every single one of you down. That's what we think, right? But Salahuddin Ayyubi wasn't only a strong individual, he was intellectual. He was a complete man. He realized that the 5,000 Muslims that were there in Bayt al-Maqdis in Palestine, they were more powerful than the entire ummah that was lying across the world. Because the entire ummah was enjoying themselves in their luxuries. They were having a nice time, enjoying their cars, their houses, their cell phones, their TVs, and their movies, and busy in, earning their money and feeding themselves and dressing in comfortable clothes. While the 5,000 Muslims that were in Palestine were those people who were struggling to live their life. The sword was at their neck every single day. These Muslims of Palestine woke up every single morning, these 5,000, seeing that their mother was being slaughtered, their children were being slaughtered, their fathers were being slaughtered. Every single day they lived in the masjid, walking and looking at that masjid. that once upon a time they used to pray there, and for 60 years they haven't been allowed to enter into that masjid. Salahuddin Ayyubi knew what it meant to be one of those 5,000. And he understood that any one of those people was more weighty than the entire ummah living at that time. Those living in Palestine today, with all due respect, the entire ummah can be put on one side and compare one of those people with us today, and the iman can never be matched. Wallahi, you can't match the iman. The Muslim today that lives in America, he finds it hard to contribute $10 a week to Palestine, to the people of Palestine. And how much does a person in Palestine, how much does a child in Palestine live off per month? How much does it how much does it cost to sponsor a child in Palestine per day? Do you know? Do you know how much these people live off per day? Per day? $2 per day. $2 per day these people live off. And all that is required is you and I give $60 a month to these people, and these people can enjoy themselves, they can live their day, they can live their lives. But the Muslim across the world, he's so busy doing whatever he wants to. He's so busy enjoying himself. He's too busy with his nice big TVs. He's too busy watching and buying Bollywood movies and getting the weekly Bollywood movie and buying all the weekly songs and going to the movies and buying a nice car and ensuring his wife has a separate car. He has a separate car. His child has a separate car. His son has a different laptop. He has another laptop. His son has a different phone. He has another phone. The wife has another phone. He's so busy with all these luxuries that he can't care about that young child who's waking up every morning wondering where is his food going to come before he goes to sleep that night. And he sees his mother there, and the mother's crying because she can't feed her child. And the father, he doesn't know if he's going to see his child the next morning. And what happens is that all of the children are taken away and they're locked away in a prison. And then what happens is they take one child and they slaughter that child and he's dead. The oppression has limits. These individuals are living off dates, if even that much. How many Muslims are living on the Gaza Strip? How many? Who can give a figure here? How many? 2 million, more or less. Living on such a small area. In concentration camps. Every single morning, these individuals, these 2 million Muslims, they wake up looking at the sky thinking that when are we going to have a roof over our head again? Every single morning, these Muslims, wallahi, they do. If we're humans, they're humans too. If me and you have dreams, those individuals have dreams too. If we have brothers and sisters, they have brothers and sisters too. If we as parents can't live without providing for our children, wallahi, that mother, imagine what goes through her mind, what goes through her heart when she sees her child waking up every morning hungry and starving every night to sleep. These people, the iman they have is beyond imagination. If they leave their religion, it's simple. If the people in Gaza right now, if they said that we're Christians, what's going to happen? You'll probably be shipped away to another country and they're gone, enjoy your life and have a nice time. But their iman is so valuable to them. So valuable that you can take my life, you can take my land, you can take my property, you could take whatever you want to, but you can't take my deen from me. Salahuddin Ayyubi, he knew this. And he wasn't ready to give it up. He said, no way. Those 5,000 people, I can't let them die. And he then, subhanAllah, he made a treaty and he accepted the treaty. Now, ego was somewhere, but his intellect and his brain was somewhere else, and he followed that which is the right thing to do at the time. So I was saying Khalid bin Walid, he was fighting against this big guy, and he says to this big guy that, you're a very strong person, but the only way you can be the best of your country, best man of your country, if you also have intellect. So that person says to Khalid bin Walid, yes, I'm also an intellectual person. So Khalid bin Walid then said to this person that if you're intellectual, then why don't you accept Islam? He started giving his da'wah there. He's one-on-one, ready with that guy to fight, and he starts giving the guy da'wah. So that person, he didn't have any answer. He said to Khalid bin Walid, forget about the da'wah, let's fight. And he invited Khalid bin Walid to the fight, and what's going to happen to him? He got beaten, obviously. That's what happened to the guy. So, we were talking about how the Najashi, he was a person of truth too. He was a complete man. He had power and he had intellect. So when he read the message, when he heard the message, what happened to him? He accepted Islam. And not only did he accept Islam, he sent back, from Habsha, one of his sons, along with 7 different companions to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And on the way, the ship, it sunk, and they got caught in a storm, and all of them, they drowned, and the ship did not reach Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he reveals in the first verse of the 7th juz of the Quran, what is it? The first verse of the 7th juz, what is it? وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ مِمَّا عَرَفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ. That Najashi, when he heard the verses of Surah Yasin, because in Surah Yasin there's a mention of the people, the 3 messengers that were sent to the community, and all the Jannah and Jahannam and all this stuff. When he heard Surah Yasin, he started crying, and he cried and cried and cried. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ, when they hear that which was revealed to the Quran, which was revealed in the Quran, which was revealed to Rasulullah, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ, when they listen to that which is revealed to the messenger, تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ. You see their eyes are flowing with tears. مِمَّا عَرَفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Because what they've recognized from the truth. So this Najashi, he accepted. And not only did he accept, he also invited his community to come, accept along with me. And when he passed away, when Najashi passed away, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he informed the Sahaba that Najashi has passed away. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, along with the Sahaba, he performed the janazah salah of Najashi where? In Makkah, in Medina Munawwara. They were in Medina Munawwara, and they performed the janazah salah of Najashi while they were in Medina Munawwara as he had passed away. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote letters to different, as I mentioned at the beginning, to all the different countries, to Bahrain, to Yemen, to Iskandariya, and all these different places. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote the letters to. So this was the second reason why the Muhaddithin said that the Sulh Hudaybiyah was Fath Mubin, it was open victory, because in these letters, out of the 7-8 letters that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote, 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 of them actually accepted Islam. And having a king or a ruler accept Islam was nothing small, it was a really big thing. Having a king or ruler accepting Islam, it was everything. It's as if the whole community now, they're going to be open and more willing to listen to the message and understand the message and read the message. So now the third reason why, and with this we'll finish. The third reason why the Muhaddithin say that this was Fath Mubin is because the following year, what was the following year? Which year did Sulh Hudaybiyah take place in? 6th year. Which year was it? The 6th year after Hijrah. The 7th year after Hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he decided to go and crush the Jewish community who had betrayed the Muslims time after time, the Yahud, who lived in Khaybar. And the Muslims, they marched towards Khaybar in an army of 1,400 on foot and 200 on horseback. And these 1,600 Sahaba, they marched along with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until they arrived in Khaybar. Now, the people, the Jewish community till today, even in those days, were very wealthy people. And Khaybar, they had many trees of date trees, and they were very wealthy people. They used to sell, and very, very wealthy and rich people. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with the Sahaba, and they attacked the people of Khaybar. And on the way there, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while they were walking towards the lands of Khaybar, Abu Musa Ashari radiallahu anhu, he was next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was reciting something. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, what are you reciting? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, but should I not tell you something that is from the treasure of paradise? So he said, Ya Rasulullah, tell me, what is it? What can I read that's from the treasure of paradise? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. That this is from the treasures of paradise. We should also make a habit of reciting this. Very beautiful, that there is no power, no might that can help except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Great. So now the Sahaba, they came, they attacked Khaybar. And in Khaybar, they had these 8 forts. They had many forts there. And the Sahaba, one fort by second to third to fourth, they came and they attacked all these forts. And they conquered all the forts one by one. When they came to the third fort, however, the third fort was the main fort that was there. It was the major fort. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the flag to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He said, Abu Bakr, go and attack them. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu came with the army, they attacked. And that evening they came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told Ya Rasulullah that I don't think it's possible to conquer this place. And this was only the third fort. They had still, 6 more to go if they only conquered 2. And there were 8 forts. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the flag now in the hands of Umar radiallahu anhu. Oh Umar, tomorrow you take the flag and go and attack these people. Umar radiallahu anhu, this time he comes as a general, they attack full-fledged. He comes back at night time, he tells Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, I don't think we can conquer these people. These people are very firm. Their fort is just so tight. There's no way to get in. The third day, now this night, Rasulullah says to the Sahaba, that tomorrow I will give the flag to a person whose Jannat has become wajib upon. And Allah is pleased with this person. So just with that glad tidings that Jannat has become wajib on this person, and Allah is pleased with this person, the Sahaba are waiting all of them that tomorrow is going to be me, I hope it's me, I hope it's me, I hope it's me, I hope it's me. Out of 200 people, only one's going to be accepted into the medical school. I hope it's me, I hope it's me, it's got to be me, it's got to be me. So here, out of 200 people giving the interview, one's going to be accepted. Everyone's praying that one person just may be. Let me try. So the Sahaba that were there, 1,600 of them, they're thinking that it just may be me tomorrow who gets the flag. In the morning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he calls Ali radiallahu anhu. He says, Ali, come here. Ali radiallahu anhu comes in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had an injured eye. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took a saliva, put it on the eye of Ali radiallahu anhu. And Ali radiallahu anhu, instantly he was cured. Instantly Ali radiallahu anhu was cured. And he says that this eye never in my life ever hurt again. The eye that Rasulullah applied as a saliva to, it never hurt for the rest of my life. Never did it hurt again. This was the barakah of the saliva of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He then took that flag and he went, and subhanallah, the way he fought against those people. One of the people from the opposition, from the Yahud, he came. And he challenged that who is from the Muslim that's going to fight me? So there was one Sahabi, Amir, he came and he fought against. And while the Sahabi was fighting against this Yahud, accidentally when he went to swing at the Yahudi's leg, he accidentally slipped and the blade slipped from his hand and it came back and hit him. He hit himself. Instead of hitting the opposition, the blade accidentally slipped and he came and hit himself. When he hit himself, what happened is he was so ill and he got so weak that he passed away through this. And the Sahaba, they said that look at this person, he killed himself and now he's committed suicide and his sins, he's going to be thrown in the fire of hell. So Rasulullah, when he heard this, he said, this isn't true. It was an accident. He was going to kill that person. The accident, the blade came back and it hit him. That's how he passed away. So now what happened to Rasulullah, he then said that this person was a shaheed and led his janazah salatu. Now as soon as this person passed away and he was on the ground there and the Sahabi became shaheed, Amir radiallahu anh, what happened is Ali radiallahu anh, he jumped in the battle. He jumped in the middle. He said, if anyone that's going to take him out, it's got to be me. And Ali radiallahu anh, subhanAllah, he went to that person. He took his sword and like a baseball bat, he smacked it on his head. He took the sword and his patak on his head. When he hit that guy on his head split into two pieces like a watermelon. It split into two pieces, that guy fell on the ground and he was dead. And then Ali radiallahu anh, he went to the fort and he said, what is this fort? That we've been trying to break this fort down for so many days. He went to the fort, he got a hold of the fort and the door of the fort. It wasn't like IC doors here where you can't even open these if it's locked. You wait out there for hours, open the door. And our door is even glass, you could probably even kick it. Don't do it, but you can still kick it open, if anything. But this is like, a proper door. Fire doors, and you can't break the fire door down because it's so, it's made to, for resistance. This wasn't a small fire door or something, man. This is a door to a fort. This is huge. Even just the thickness of that wood must have been 2-3 feet. Right? That's how thick the thickness of the wood must have been. Ali radiallahu anhu goes there, he grabs his sword, he goes, what is this, man? It's being a barrier between the haqq and the batil. And Ali radiallahu anhu, he holds that door, and with his power of his arm, he yanks it, and what happens to the door? The whole door comes out. He pulls out a door of a fort. That's something to say subhanAllah to. And he pulls that door and then he swings that door around and he uses it as a shield in the battlefield. That if people can't break the door down, how are their swords going to hit break down this door that I have? And he used that door and then the Sahaba came in and they conquered the fort as days passed on. After they conquered this fort, they conquered all the other forts. The Yahud, they knew that they were dead now, so they came and they said, let's make a treaty. Rasulullah was also merciful too. He said, okay, let's make a treaty. And he signed a treaty with the Yahud. And then what happened is after they signed the treaty with the Yahud, this was towards the end of this was like now we're at the 7th year Hijrah. So now Rasulullah, after he signs the treaty with the Yahud, when Rasulullah was returning, one lady, she invited Rasulullah. Now, the people of Khaybar, which religion did they follow? They followed Judaism, they were all Jewish people, Yahud. So one of the women there, her name was Zainab, she invited Rasulullah to dinner. Rasulullah, he was open-hearted individual. He said, let's go, we'll go there and eat. Whether Muslim or Yahudi, Rasulullah went there. Now when Rasulullah, when he sat there, she prepared this grand meal. And in the meal she had meat there. So many people, they use this as a dalil. They say that, Rasulullah, he had food at the house of a Yahudi. So you can eat the food of any person, doesn't matter at all. So the first thing was, in the Quran there is permission to eat from the food of the Ahl Kitab, the Yahud and the Nasara, first thing. So that doesn't count that you can go to McDonald's and eat whatever you want to. That you can use this hadith definitely as a proof. Now the second thing that people use this hadith as a proof is that Rasulullah, he went to a Yahudi's house and he didn't ask her where her meat came from. So why do you go to a Muslim's house and ask him that where is your meat from? Why do you inquire at a Muslim's house when Rasulullah didn't inquire at a Yahudi's house? So the answer to this is also very simple too. That the reality is that the objection you're making also doesn't count here either. That the istilal and the dalil you're using here doesn't count either. The reason why it doesn't count is because the Yahud, they used to follow their religion. The Yahud, they were very firm. The people that used to live in Khaybar, especially the Yahud in Medina, why were they there? They were there because in their books it said that the final messenger would come to Medina, and they were hoping that the final messenger would be born in their family. So that's why they were there. So these were very pious individuals, first thing. And the second thing was that there was no reason for them to cheat. If they're religious, like for example, if you go to a Muslim country, okay? And you go to a Muslim country where, see, the issue with meat comes when there's manufacturing and mass production involved. Okay? If there isn't mass production involved, then generally there isn't an issue. Let me explain this what I'm saying. Or maybe causing confusion. If you go to a Muslim country, okay, let's say for example you go to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, okay? Generally the meat that's sold on the streets isn't through mass production, is it? It's people, they have their stores there, you go to them, you want 2 murgis, they grab it from the cage, and what do? Uda karke, they give it to you. They cut the neck, Bismillah, Allah Akbar, they give it to you in front of you. You go to the Arab countries, you go to these places, and if you want, where they cut the meat in front of you and they give it to you. It's not a hard process. It's very simple. Okay? Now, the issue is involved when there's mass production. When mass production is involved, now what happens is, people aren't using the hands anymore. What are they using now? They're using machines. And what's happening with the machines now? People are using all the different methods they want to with using the machine. Someone's saying Bismillah Allah Akbar and he's pressing the button and the machine is cutting for 6 hours straight, and whatever comes in the way, he's saying that it counts now. The second person, what he says that, okay, you don't have to even say Bismillah, you just have a tape player there, and the tape player says Bismillah, the cassette saying Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah on repeat, he just puts it on repeat, and the track keeps playing again and again, and as the blade swinging, Bismillah, 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 and he says it counts there. Then the third person says that, you know what, forget about the record altogether, that's even, you don't have to even spell it, you have to buy batteries for that. Let's find something easier. And what I'm saying right now isn't any joke. What I'm saying to you, this isn't a joke, this is actually, we've seen this and we've heard of this. And we know for a fact that this happens in America. So be aware of what you eat. Okay? Now what happens here now is that there's one person, he calls himself a certifier. All the herd and all the animals are gathered together in one place. And instead of saying Bismillah on every single one of them while slaughtering them, the ones that are slaughtering, they're not Muslims for sure. So before they start the slaughtering, all the animals are gathered together in one place. This person comes in a helicopter. The scholar, the Sheikh Sahib, he comes in a helicopter, Pir Baba Sahib, he comes in a helicopter, and the helicopter is flying around the herd and the animals, and he's saying, Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah, and he's blowing away. Bismillah Allah Akbar, and he's blowing. And that meat is being slaughtered and being sold on Divan Street, Divan Avenue. And that meat is being slaughtered and it's coming in our Muslim houses. So there is corruption. Do you understand? You can't compare the two. There, every single person was slaughtered. If we're slaughtering by hand, then there's not an issue. I mean, we trust our Muslims to say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. That we do trust them. But the person that's on top when money is involved and when there's a whole, we've seen in our community when money gets involved, what happens to people. Someone that we can consider a very, righteous individual in our community, he takes investments from people and talaq kar gaya. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and ghaib. That happens. Now, inshallah, we hope that there was good. We can only hope the best. That's what we're ordered to do as Muslims. But we see when money gets involved, what happens to a person. It's common. It's not something that hasn't been seen before. Madoff G wasn't. He was a Jewish. He was a religious person. But money got involved. Wo bhi ghaib ho gaya. You know what I'm saying? Not he. How much did he run off it? 63 billion. SubhanAllah. That's enough to buy a few countries probably, right? But when money gets involved, what happens to people? So the istidlal people do that, saying that that Rasulullah went to a Jewish person's house and didn't ask to eat, didn't ask where's your meat from, and he had food there. You have to understand that first of all, they were religious individuals, and second thing that the muhaddithin mentioned, that they used to slaughter by hand. And if a person slaughters by hand, then generally there is no issue at all. Generally, it's not the issue. If there's hand slaughter involved, it's not an issue at all. And if a Jewish person or a Christian person is doing his hand slaughter and following his religion when he's slaughtering the meat, then go ahead, eat yourself. It's best not to, because you're promoting, other than Muslims when you have Muslims here. But it's best to promote Muslims. But if you wish to, you can go ahead and eat that too. There is ijazah and there's permission for that too. Khair. So Rasulullah went to the Zainab's house and they had meat there. She prepared this big tray, and Rasulullah he took one of the pieces, and right when he put it inside his mouth, Jibreel alayhi salam came and said, "Oh Rasulullah, take this out of your mouth. This meat is poisoned." And Rasulullah he took the meat out. But the meat had already touched the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the poison went inside the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah, and it was very little, but it went inside the body of Rasulullah. Rasulullah spat it out right away. He called Zainab, "What are you doing? Why did you poison the meat?" She said, "I was finding out if you were a prophet. If you were a prophet, what was going to happen? I knew this was going to happen. But if you weren't a prophet, then you would have had it, and then we would have been freed from your nuisance." Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in one narration she accepted Islam, the other narration she didn't accept Islam. And then what happened? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her, "Look, because you tried to poison me, I forgive you." And she was set free. But there was another Sahabi who actually ate the meat. And the poison she used in the meat was of such a degree that as soon as the Sahabi had it, what happened to him? Within hours he died. When the Sahabi passed away, his family members demanded that we want to take revenge, we want to take qisas, we want her blood in return. So Rasulullah said, "I forgive you, but because the family wants to take revenge, I can't stop that. You can do it as you wish." And the family came, they took their revenge, and she was killed in return because one Sahabi was killed. Now, bear in mind this incident, that the poisoning of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just keep this incident in mind. Because in the next 2-3 sessions after, when we come to our finish line, inshallah, we're going to refer back to this incident again. So which year did this incident take place in? 7th year. And after which battle? After the Battle of Khaybar. And what was her name? Zainab. Okay, remember those two things, because we're going to refer back to this when we come to then. Because Rasulullah, when he was passing away, he said to the Sahaba that I can feel that poison that I had in Khaybar coming back to me now. And it's the poison of Khaybar that's taking my soul from my body. It's the poison of Khaybar that it was one of the major factors that led to the departure of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from this world. So inshallah next week we'll carry on from here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to learn lessons from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those that are complete men. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on our Muslim brothers across the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala khususan and especially our brothers in Palestine, may Allah have mercy on them. May Allah grant them all special mercy. And inshallah nasrun min Allah wa fathun qareeb. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.